Hey, what is shaking bacon? Welcome back to another book club. And of course, we are reading Trout Magic by Robert Trevor. We are in chapter 7, which is Size is Not the Measure. And I want to read a quote just to start off. This will kind of guide my conversation, kind of guide what I'm talking about, kind of spitballing. And it says, worse yet than in doing so, fishermen were sacrificing one of the main rewards and solaces of going fishing at all, namely that fishing is, or at least it used to be, the world's only sport that it's fun even to fail at. And so I ask you this question. When did fishing become about only catching fish? When did fishing only come about only catching big fish? You know, as in this social media age where we have the grip and grin, where it's all about catching the big fish, posting it on Instagram, getting a bunch of likes, and really to the point where people are able to do stuff unethically, where people are able to fish during the spawn, or people are willing to catch fish off of reds so that they can be famous or get these brand deals or look cool on social media or brag to their friends, where people are willing to snag fish, where people are willing to just do some god-awful things that don't necessarily go along with their morals in order to get these trophy-sized fish. And, you know, I don't want to sound, accusatory, because, you know, I think these are things that I've done before. I've overvalued the big fish, the size of the fish, where I've only targeted big fish, or perhaps I've looked down on a small fish that I've caught and didn't treat it the same way that I did a bigger fish. And, you know, this is where everyone in the comments goes, oh, shame on you. And, I'm admitting these things, but these are not things that only I've done. You know, we've all done this. And if you haven't, you're a saint, or you're Jesus himself, and good on you. But I find it hard to believe. And so Robert kind of talks about in this chapter how fly fishing has become this sport where it's all about posing with the big fish, where it's all about lifting those, he calls it holding fish that are the size where you risk a hernia, which is so funny but so true, where we just hold these big fish and we parade them all over Instagram. And sometimes we don't even share small fish because we don't think that they're big enough. We don't think that they're good enough. And, it's just kind of silly. And it's something that I've experienced it too. And it's made the sport actually more frustrating for a lot of people, including myself, coming to Montana and fishing here in the wintertime has been frustrating for me. It's been different. It's not what I'm used to. Back east, our waters stay a lot warmer in the wintertime. And so I've had struggles someday being successful, where I've gotten skunked quite a bit, and that's not easy for me to admit, especially as someone, I'm a competitive angler, and I consider myself to be fairly good. I don't think that I'm the best, but I consider myself to be a fairly good angler. And, there's that ego part of me that has trouble admitting that, hey, like I just got my butt handed to me by the river. And, you get a little frustrated, with the sport. This is, not as fun as it used to be. But really it is, there is fun in that failing and the learning. And kind of some of the conversations that have happened as a result of me kind of sucking, being humble and, asking people, hey, like, I'm really struggling with this. What would you do? What could I do better? That's fun. That's awesome. And what will be even more fun is when, I put that into plan and it works out, whether that be this season, whether that be next season. Eventually, I will learn and I will figure it out. And that's awesome. And that's some of the most rewarding things about fishing, not just the size of the fish. Just to put things in perspective, I worked on a private ranch last summer with just these giant fish, and they were awesome. They were cool. It's fun to catch a 25-pound rainbow. It's fun to catch 30-inch rainbows. But after a while, it doesn't become so gratifying, when you catch fish that big over and over again. And some of my greatest and most fun I had fishing those waters was actually fishing in the wild section and, fishing dry flies. I'm not a very good dry fly angler, and that's not something I'm afraid to admit. I'm just not very good at it. And I have a lot of improvements to make in that part of my game. And some of the most fun I had was fishing size 18 dries to rising fish in the wild section. And this was, I fished earlier that afternoon and caught like 4 fish, which is not good by any means. I've put up over 20 fish in 2-hour sessions before and hooked even more than that in 2-hour sessions before. So 4 fish in the afternoon is not good at all for me, at least by my standards and my skill level. But, we all have those days. But then coming back and just that evening and catching fish on dry flies, just something that I just don't do a lot. And, having a little fun and learning that, hey, sticking to my ego and sticking to what I know and thinking that I've got this all figured out is not all it's cracked up to be. And posing on Instagram and being like, it's cool to get 400 likes on a photo on Instagram. I've gotten that before. It's cool. It's like, yeah, people see me. But that feeling doesn't last, and that joy doesn't last. And actually, it makes you feel kind of bad about yourself. I'm not going to lie. When you rely on that as your self-esteem, when you don't get those likes, when you don't catch those big fish. And this goes to a piece of advice that one of my buddies said to me. He said, don't make your life about catching fish, because when you don't catch any fish, it really sucks. And, I do believe at its basic form, fishing is about catching fish. I mean, why would we be fishing if we didn't want to catch fish? We'd be doing something else. We'd be hiking so I do think there's that ultimate goal of trying to catch a fish or even trying to catch a big fish, but also knowing that that's not the entire experience, that there's so much more to fishing than that fish, than that big fish, than even catching a fish, and that just being outside and, enjoying God's creation and enjoying this wonderful moment that we have to be on the water. Fishing for me has been a big stress reliever in my life. When I've been injured running or when life just gets me down, I've been able to find that solace at the stream and just realizing that it's just fun to be out there. It's just fun to be looking at the river, even if I'm not fishing. I hiked along a river the other day, and rivers just get me excited, whether it's just driving by with my head cocked, trying not to crash because I'm staring at the river. Rivers give me a sense of hope. Rivers give me a sense of excitement, of amazing things that the future holds. And that's all the stuff that the river and fishing does for me. And it is so much more than about catching fish, and again, so much more about catching just big fish. And so I also had this quote from the end of the book, where he's with a buddy at a bar and he banged his glass on the table and he says, "They're not beauty contests, but booby contests." And so we're not actually taking in the whole perspective of the show, kind of comparing it to the show of a beauty contest where, the judges, he's essentially saying that the judges are picking the most beautiful woman is the one with the biggest boobs, or the one with the best physical attributes. And, that's often how we value a fish. And, my buddy Dan once said in a video, he says, I've never caught a bad fish. And, I think he was partly joking and making a joke, but it's also so true. Have you ever caught a bad fish? Like, why was one fish worse than another fish? It's still fun. It's still part of the experience. It still makes us feel good, makes us feel successful. So it's beauty, and the beauty of fishing is not built up in its appearance. It's not built up in how we present it to the world, how we post it on social media. We can have a bad trip and make it look like a great trip based on our post on social media, and vice versa. We can have a great trip and it can look bad based on how we post it on social media or how we look at it. It's all about perspective and just realizing that there's so much more to this sport than catching fish. And I'm not just sitting here preaching this to you. This is something that I'm preaching to myself. I get caught up in, big fish. I get caught up in, oh, that's just a 4-inch brown trout, like he's stupid. No, he was rising to dries and I caught him on a dry fly, and I'm not very good at dry fly fishing. So that's awesome. That's an accomplishment for me. And just not discounting that, and just really being appreciative of the opportunities that I have out on the water and that we have out on the water, and that this is a gift. This is a gift that we get to take advantage of, and that's awesome. So just enjoy your time out on the water. If you have made it this far, I do want to connect more with my faith in this channel. This is a fishing channel first and foremost. However, my faith is something that's very important to me. And with that, if there's anything that I could be praying for you, please leave that in the comments below. Or if you're shy about that, you don't want people to see it in the comments, message me on Instagram or Facebook privately. It's at Tyler Olrogue. Same name as the channel. Message me privately. I'd love to be praying for you. I want to build a community here, and I want this to be a place that's supportive, that's there for you when you need it. So if there's anything that I could be doing and praying for you, I appreciate your support, and I would love to give you guys that same support too. So reach out to me if you need it. If not, that's awesome. I'm so thankful for all of you and all your support. I hope you guys continue to enjoy these videos as I enjoy making them. So we will catch you in the next one. But till then, tight lines, my guys and girls.